What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into Frank Zappa's most recent release, One Size Fits All 50th Anniversary Box Set Extravaganza. Talking about this set, the 5 CD set that has 4 CDs and Blu-ray. Part 1, I discussed the first 2 discs, which were sort of a project object audio documentary of the making of One Size Fits All. Not in terms of like anybody talking about it, but like raw or earlier versions of each of the tracks in order. And then discs 3 and 4 are the live stuff. We get one complete live show, 9/28/74 Rotterdam, a previously not in circulation show, or at least back when I was trading tapes. This was not one that was in circulation, so this is a brand new listen. That takes up about a disc and a half. And then the end of disc 4, we get 2 tracks from September 25th, 1974, 2 early versions, or the first performed early versions, if not the first version, of two songs on One Size Fits All. It seemed to have got brighter all of a sudden here. Great live stuff. This was a bittersweet listening experience for me as I went into this, because I think on one hand, this is probably the last of the 74 stuff that we're going to see if for a while, if not forever. I am very happy. There's no complaints. We got an early winter show. We got a couple spring shows. We've got a whole bunch of summer, fall shows. We've got some television shows. We've got all the albums re-released. Like, I have zero complaints. However, we've done it. Like, I'm going forward. Like, they don't have an album connected reason to make a release. So are they still going to do it? Hopefully we get like road tapes, get sort of like started up again, and we get a road tapes release. My one quick suggestion before I get on to this these 2 CDs, if anybody from Zappa is listening to this or watching this, we know that Zappa recorded the 22nd and the 23rd in Helsinki. Did the 25th. We have tracks from that. We got the 28th now. We know he recorded the Paris show on the 27th, Merely a Blues in A from Frank Zappa Plays the Music, Frank Zappa. The October 1st show, we've got the Venetian Time Bandits, or Venetian Time Bandits. We got an approximate version from 10/1. He recorded a lot of stuff on the European tour, and maybe there's no desire to release a complete show, but maybe like a box set called Europe 74, give it a snazzy name, give us 2 or 3 discs that kind of feel like maybe a Zinni release where it's not an actual show, but it feels like a show, like the Zinni 40th release, not the original one. So we get maybe some more just amazing stuff. Because listening to this show that's here, which I'm listening to the first time because it did not exist in the tape trading community, I'm like, this is why you need to hear every show, because he drops a Dupree's Paradise like this in the middle of what is already a fantastic show. And you're like, I needed to hear this in my life. This is really good stuff. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to rant about it. I'm not going to play music from it. And then I'm going to encourage you to go out and get this box set, or at least somehow find a way to get these 2 CDs, release them separately. Like, if sales plateau out, family of it's not ZFT anymore, Frank Zappa people and UMG people, like, just release this show. Just do what the dead do. Release the show. Rotterdam, 9/28/74, the greatest tour Frank ever did, in my opinion, the greatest touring band. Brock, Duke, Underwood, that Underwood, Fowler, Thompson, Frank, right? That's all of them. Show sounds great. No complaints about the sound at all. If there is a complaint, Frank's guitar can be shrill. He is shrill tones on this tour a lot of the times. There's not a lot of warmth to some of the solos. And maybe if it's too loud, you're a little like, okay, yeah, maybe turn down the treble as much as possible, or see if I can like counter out these ear-piercing highs. But it's a very minor complaint, and it really has nothing to do with the music. You can hear the songs. It really is just the guitar. Tush 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 is the opener. Sounds fantastic. This is disc 3. Tush Tush Tush, opener, sounds fantastic. This goes into Stinkfoot, kind of long, super tasty solo, kind of aggressive, but also very focused, not like a manic aggressive, but like, I know what I'm doing. I have this theory that Stinkfoot is not really a theory, but I believe that Stinkfoot really kind of sets the tone for the rest of the show anytime it was used as an opener. And this one is like aggressive, it's focused, but it's not over the top. It's not too indulgent, but it's very purposeful. And I feel like a lot of the playing on the show is just like from the beginning, purposeful and aggressive, and yet not like crazy manic, but just really well done. That being said, probably the one disappointing solo on here comes in Inca Roads. The Inca Roads, this is, I think, the best version of Inca Roads. This is its apex. 79 would have better solos, arguably his best, but we don't get like the latter half of the song. 88 was good, but it's no 74. I would say this is when the song is at its absolute peak. This solo kind of starts off kind of quirky. This is one of those solos. It's got some jazzy tones to it. We got this weird high-pitched wah thing going on. This is one of those solos where I feel like Frank is like in like a surfing competition, and he has, we'll really condense the time to make it fit a solo. Like he has 4 or 5 minutes to find the right wave and ride it and get points. And this is one of those instances in which he never really catches the right wave. He catches a couple good waves. He gets some good runs in, but they're not winning runs. They're not the ones that he wanted to get. That's why he kept going out there for more. So it feels like he's searching. Fowler sounds amazing. The band sounds amazing. There's one point where we kind of go into like a Duke solo part. No, that's a whole different thing. That's a different song. We get a Duke solo. But Fowler sounds really amazing this, but Frank never really catches that wave. But then we get Duke solo, which is fantastic. But when we segue out of Duke solo, it's kind of slightly botched. We're kind of like, oh, okay, something weird went on there. So Frank has them run like the percussion intro that goes back into the final part of the song several times. So Frank's like, okay, we messed that up. Let's just do it again. And let's do it again. And let's do it again. You can see him. You can see him demanding that of his band. So it's great to hear Inca Roads, but this is one of those instances where I think, oh, the Inca Roads solo might not just automatically be the best solo of the show. Next, we get an Approximate. Again, I'm going to continue with some minor complaints. I just find Approximate needs to go later in a show. It just feels too early. It just seems like really good Stinkfoot solo, really great epic Inca Roads, and then we get this weird thing that's done with both the dots, the mouth, and the foot. Just seems too early in the show. Though once we get the 4 version, it's nice to hear a little jam in here. Frank quotes a Sofa German lyric at one point. We get the little short solos by everybody in the middle. Frank, little short solo. Thompson, little one. George, one. Fun song. It just feels like it's more of a mid to early 2/3 type song. Cosmic Debris is next, which is fantastic. This is another tour in which I think Cosmic Debris' apex is this tour. It just feels a little more relaxed. The middle section jam is fantastic. We get a sax solo. We get that sort of George, Napoleon go back and forth joking around thing. Then we get a Duke solo. And then Frank always just lays down a really good solo. And that's what he does here. He takes his time to let it develop. It kind of builds and builds and builds. It goes on longer than you think it's going to go on. So far in this show, Stinkfoot and Inca being the only other 2 solos, and I guess a short Approximate solos. The Cosmic Debris solo is winning right here. Cosmic Debris is absolutely fantastic. I think every time it gets played after this, we rush it. It's just too much of a jokester number, it feels like. The solo is never as epic. Not everybody gets a solo, right? It's usually just a guitar solo. This is peak apex year for Cosmic Debris. Then we get Florentine Pogan, which is introduced as Chester's Gorilla. I think the tempo's a little bit faster than the studio version, but I have no complaints about that. It's absolutely fantastic. The percussion, particularly in this mix, sounds amazing. We get a solo. It's a full-on Frank is ready to go right out of the gates. He's attacking. At one point, he just starts grooving some chords. And this is the one where then Duke starts getting... No, this is the next song. Keep skipping ahead in my notes. He starts playing some really chords. He kind of slows it down a little. He goes low and scrappy on the solos. And then he kind of builds that up to just this magnificent head of steam. Awesome Florentine Pogan solo. It's what you want out of a Florentine Pogan. Yes, we need more Florentine Pogans. Then, might be the MVP of this tour. It's either this song or it's Dupree's Paradise for this tour. Montana. we get just another spectacular Montana. Super chill start to the solo. Frank is in no hurry to go anywhere. We are so far removed from the funk of 73 like that. We can't even see that in the rearview mirror anymore. Really good. Fowler sounds incredibly amazing early on, kind of pushing. It's long, it's exploratory. It also has that feel of like looking for the next wave, but also being a little more patient and just, even though the way we're not catching the big one, we're catching some really, really interesting waves. Just a lot of really cool sections throughout this. Then Frank starts laying down these chords and kind of establishing this groove. And then Duke like starts soloing on the electric piano. Like Duke starts going off. Like seems really weird when I first listened to this for the first time, because I can think of very few Montanas, if any others, where there are Montanas in 74 where the jam gets a little more twisted and Duke is a little more prominent, but I don't think there's anywhere where Frank's just like, hey, start soloing. And then he starts soloing, then things kind of calm down, then we segue back into it, and then we finish out Montana with a Ride Like a Zombie. So Zombie Wolf has been on his mind. But the reason this makes sense that Duke gets a solo is it turns out there's an intermission. And so they're being forced to take an intermission so people can go upstairs and buy sandwiches and drinks. And then 20 minutes, we're going to start the second half of the show. So I think that makes sense for Montana as a set ending song. Throw Duke a little bone, make it a little jammier, maybe let the energy pick back up, knowing we're going to take a break. Fantastic set. The highlight might be Cosmic Debris. That guitar solo, it's just pure. It's just a pure guitar solo. Chester's Gorilla is fantastic. Montana is absolutely fantastic. It's just weird. You're off the ranch. The fences are down. You're wandering in Wyoming. Like really, really good stuff. But that Cosmic Debris in the middle, I think, is really good. But none of this compares to what happens in the second set. So we get Redunzel opening up after the intermission. Big dramatic intro to the solo. Frank's coming in big, like he's feeling this one. We get this awesome sort of like run down the fretboard that just kind of goes on forever and ever and ever and ever right in the middle of this. That's super grace. Frank gets super aggressive at one point. This is an epic Redunzel style epic solo. Absolutely fantastic. Frank is in a great mood. And that's where disc one ends. So disc one ends there. Disc two opens up with, I think that's where it ends, making sure. Disc two opens up with Dupree's intro. Yes, this is what they look like in case you care. Pictures of the band are on the covers of both of these. That is disc three, which ends with Redunzel. I don't know why I put Ruth up there. And then disc four, yeah, there we go right there. So disc four opens up with Dupree's Paradise. And essentially, the next 40 minutes is Dupree's Paradise. So it opens up with Dupree's Paradise, and this is the beginning of disc four. George is doing. He gets his part. George gets his little moment in the sun. He's telling the story of the three men. Can't really pick up their names. He says them really quick, but it's the three blind mice story. Then he plays around with his synths. Around the 2.5 minute mark of this, Frank starts conducting the band. Then we go into the funk jam that usually occurs here. It's funk. It's great funk. We get a synth solo. We switch to electric piano. We get some electric piano solo. Things get chaotic. It's just absolutely amazing. 7.5 minutes of what is essentially the George intro. You know, most of these, it's Montana, George, Dupree's. This is essentially what we're getting here, that George intro. But then, at the end of that, once we kind of break things down, Ruth plays Three Blind Mice, because George has been referencing Three Blind Mice, and he's like, this is Tale of the Three Blind Mice, boom, making noises. She plays Three Blind Mice on the marimbas. Then Frank plays the chords like Three Blind Mice. Then they go into this George-led See How They Run blues jam. And it's just a straight up blues jam. And I think even at one point George is like, and then Frank's going to play a blues solo. Or like he literally almost is like conducting Frank. So Frank steps up and plays what is like a really slow kind of intense blues solo that just kind of goes and goes and goes and builds and gets super, super intense. And this whole thing is about 4.5 minutes long. Just this tacked on blues jam that's just they just wanted to do it because that's this band, that's this tour. That's why I think this is the best band, the best tour Frank has ever had, because they could have gone right into Dupree's after George's thing. It would have made sense. It would feel like every other, not every other because this is this tour, but the average performance of this. But no, we get 4.5 minutes of a Blind Mice blues jam. Yeah, man, already. Then this goes into the first part of Dupree's Paradise. The song just beautiful. By this point, I mean, you're just like, wow, what a breath of fresh air. We get some really busy Frank Zappa rhythm during Napoleon's solo. Napoleon's on flute, really high-pitched flute. Prefer the sax for Napoleon solo. I just think there's more oomph to it, but the flute solo is good. We get a bass solo with some good percussion breaks in there. Then we get a full-on drum solo. And then we get Dupree's Part 2. This is like 18 minutes long. Pretty sure it's like 18 minutes long, right? It's really, really long. Starts off with Frank playing the Zoot-a-Lure chords. So we get those chords. It's clearly the chords that are going to be Zoot-a-Lures. The beginning of Zoot is here. He's dancing around with these chords for a while, just kind of being light and bouncy and a little bit jazzy. Some really nice percussion fills are coming in. It really is almost like if you've ever been out in the desert and there's like ball lightning and maybe you're seeing the ball lightning and then you hear the thunder as the percussion. It's just magical. This goes on for a while. Feels very much like a Winter 76 Zoot-a-Lures type exploration. Pretty full, pretty committed. This goes on until about 3:15 when Frank goes right into this new vibe, this I Found a Love vibe. I think it's a song that they're quoting, but it also might be, there's two separate jams in here. One of them I think is the song I Found a Love, which is reminiscent of I Found a Love. I think it's who is I Found a Love? It's not a Marvin Gaye track, but I remember who it is. But also at the end of this, and probably here a little bit, it sounds like something that is called Marty's Dance Number or Marty's Dance Song, which is just this riff that's like da-na-na-na, and they just would jam over this over and over. It's pretty low key. It's pretty just sets this tone. And Frank and George particularly would play around and jam around with this over the course of the 74 tour, the remainder of the 74 tour. And Frank's dipping into that, but I also think he's dipping into this Found a Love. We get this completely, just doesn't sound like anything solo. It just sounds like this. It's got this emotion to it. It's building. There's this prog energy to it. This goes on for a while. Around the 8 minutes mark, we build again. We're flirting with some Inca Roads energy at this point where we're starting to get really epic and almost that sort of stretched out narrative style. Around the 9:40 mark, we kind of go into this different groove and we're exploring another different area. Around 10:20, we kind of bring it way back down and start messing around with those Zoot-a-Lures chords. Feels like there's maybe a little Tamershi Deween energy, like he's thinking of doing some Tamershi Deween quotes. And then he's just kind of messing around for the last 3 or 4 minutes in a very 74 style where it's like, we get some burst of drums, little George. Frank's just dropping something. Are we going back into the song or what are we doing? But it's like you can tell nobody's in a hurry. Everybody's just enjoying being on stage and doing this. Then at this point, he fully goes back into Marty's Dance Number, that or is it I Found a Love? They're kind of similar. Maybe Marty's Dance Number is derived from I Found a Love. I'm sure someone in the comments will only listen to this twice. So a lot to try to key in on. Then at that point, we return to Dupree's Paradise. We get the outros, and then we go back in to the Marty's Found a Love riff, whichever one it is. And then Napoleon gets a sax solo or just starts going off on the sax. It's 40 near perfect minutes of music. It's exploratory. It's fun. You can tell this band, this is only September. It is the end of September. This band's going to stick around till all the way through December. Then after this, I think that's the encore. The encore, we get Pygmy Twilight. We get a little a Monkey Time, Curtis Mayfield's Monkey Time before they play Pygmy Twilight with a little snippet of vocals. The guitar in this is really nice and heavy. We're bringing the heavy energy. This feels like the hard rock version of Pygmy Twilight. Really forceful start to the solo. We kind of get an early peak. Frank kind of brings it back down. Then things get kind of 74 weird. Then we re-escalate it back into the climax. It's exactly what you want out of a Pygmy Twilight solo. Delivers the hard rock goods. This goes into room service. Pretty typical, average room service. We get another little rhythm and blues jam right before. Like right when you think we're going to drop into, what is the room service? Dun-dun, dun-dun, tush, tush, dun-dun, I don't remember the words. But right before we drop into room service, there's this little R&B jam that comes back in. Then we get a pretty straightforward room service, and then we close out with a tush, tush, tush. It is absolutely fantastic. Amazing. It's an incredible show. We get 2 bonus tracks, both from September 25th, 1974. We get the second ever performance of the music to Can't Afford No Shoes, but the first ever performance, and I believe the only performance, of Ralph Stuffs His Shoes. Yeah, I mean, I think this might be the best version of it. Slightly different intro, feels more dramatic. We get that where the band, Napoleon particularly, sings this little cymbal part. And instead of saying depression, they say redunzo, redunzo. So redunzo is a lyric. Feels a little more fragmented than the versions that they would eventually record. Also feels kind of silly. I feel like if they had recorded this version and put this amount of weirdness and maybe not tightened it up to that 2.5 minutes that it is on One Size Fits All, I would have liked it better. I think this is a pretty fun performance. It's got a nice guitar boogie jam in it. Enjoyable. And then we get the first ever performance of Pajama People. Lyrically, it's pretty much fully formed. The structure is pretty much there. It is definitely a lot chiller. The solo is super fun. It's kind of short, but it's neat for a first appearance for a song that would only appear, for a handful of times the rest of this year. It's a solid start, pretty good, enjoyable. Glad they put it on here. Also at this show, prior to these 2 songs, they played Flambe. I know that's not from One Size Fits All. Maybe they're saving that for an eventual, Studio Tan release, Sleep Dirt release. I had Sleep Dirt. I was like, no, that's it. It is Sleep Dirt. Maybe they one day give us a Sleep Dirt release and they put that on there. But it would have been nice, though I don't think they had time for it, to be honest. Anyways, this is fantastic. I highly recommend it. I think it was fantastic. Those are my thoughts on discs 3 and 4. The concert is amazing. Other than the shrill guitar sound, 0 complaints. The Dupree Paradise from start to finish is a must here. The Montana is a joy, as Montanas always are. Cosmic Debris, this is it in its best form. Apex Mountain for Cosmic Debris. Apex Mountain for Pygmy Twilight. This is Pygmy Twilight. This is the best version of that. Yeah, there is a lot to love about this. I recommend it. Let me know your thoughts. Things I messed up on. I had a question earlier. If you remember what that question was and you have the answer, let me know. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Go listen to this. I'm going to check out the Blu-ray. I bought a Blu-ray player especially because it's cheaper than cheap. If there's anything really interesting on the Blu-ray that I think is worth talking about, I will, but I'm not really sure. But anyways, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Yeah. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Peace. Talk to you later.